So this video is going to cover kind of the cost of not using a point of sale system or using an outdated point of sale system. Often asked, return on investment and other factors related to point of sale systems. But what I've come across a lot recently over the last couple of months is a lot of folks are hanging on to very outdated point of sale systems and they don't really realize the cost of continuing to use an outdated or ineffective point of sale system or maybe a point of sale system that they've outgrown. So this will be pretty quick. Just have about four or five slides here and we'll just dive right into it. So where this is coming from, so you wonder who's talking to you right now. I have real world retail and restaurant management experience. I spent about 15 years selling and supporting over 20 different point of sale systems. Predominantly to retail stores, restaurants, museums, and similar organizations in the United States. And then over the last 2 years, I've helped over 600 businesses and organizations find the best point of sale system. The way I work this is it's free and unbiased advice for smaller organizations. Basically, if you just need an hour or two of my time, we can chat or email or text or Google Hangout, whatever works for you, and point you in the right direction. For larger organizations, what they usually want is for me to be on site for anywhere from 2 to 4 days, and I do ask that my travel expenses be reimbursed when I'm doing something like that. And I've worked with organizations and businesses who have anywhere from 1 location to 300 locations. I am still very active in the point of sale industry. I travel frequently to meet with different vendors, look at different solutions, research news and reports and things like that, but I'm completely vendor and solution neutral. So basically the difference is you're going to get honest, brutally honest advice, but I don't have a commission riding on it or a sales manager pushing me to close a deal. So it's nice if I can offer this and not feel tied down to any one solution. And again, I'm going to move through this very quickly. I do want to define when I talk about FTE or full-time equivalent costs, there's labor costs and things like that. Using $10 an hour as the estimate. So basically that's the employee's hourly wage plus the employer's cost for, the withholdings and things like that. And this is using data from the National Retail Federation and National Cash Register. It's not something that I'm making up. So these are some of the key areas, and we'll just kind of go around the clock here fairly quickly. One area where an outdated point of sale system or no point of sale system may be costing you money that you may not realize is through manual processes. You look at maybe there's some workarounds where people have to use spreadsheets or post-it pads to track things, and that's a bad sign and obviously costs you money. Maybe the point of sale system doesn't integrate with a CRM or customer relationship management system. Maybe it doesn't interface with your e-commerce or your online shopping cart. Maybe the point of sale system doesn't work for off-site sales. If you're doing a sidewalk sale, a special event, maybe you take items to a trade show, conference, expo, things like that, and you're having to track those sales manually. You might find that your system is not compliant. If you're still using Windows XP and things like that, you're probably not compliant with a lot of the standards especially for credit card security. We think the PCI and some of those other requirements. Maybe your system doesn't provide you with real-time data, so you're not getting up-to-the-minute things like your inventory, trends in sales, customer buying habits, things like that. There's a customer dissatisfaction component to this. If your current system or your lack of a system means that there's a slow or cumbersome buying or purchasing process, checking out basically, if a customer has to wait 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, they may not come back just because they know it's a slow process. Theft can be a huge thing, especially the older a system gets, the easier it is to hide things. Of course, we use the term shrinkage in the retail industry, but we're just going to call it theft. And it could be internal employee or it could be external customer. If your system isn't up to date and you're thinking of those workarounds or those duct tape patch fixes for getting something done, there's potential for theft taking place because you have no way of tracking it. Another area is unrealized revenue. This may come from things like, not having a gift card program, a customer loyalty program, uh, integrated email marketing, things like that, that allow you to capture those 80% of your sales that come from 20% of your customers. Keep them coming back and spending more. You may be facing the situation, especially with an older point of sale system, that you can't be EMV compliant. Of course, EMV, it's a liability shift date. It's not like there's this new law that was passed or anything like that. But still, if you're not going to meet EMV liability shift date, which is October 1st, 2015 in the United States for card present transactions, you're opening yourself up for loss from fraudulent transactions. Another area is push data. What I mean by that is basically the point of sale system, sending you information. There's tons of examples here because it could be inventory, it could be employee issues, it could be trends, it could be just general sales data like a snapshot. There's a huge area here where the system can notify you of things so you can react immediately rather than, the next day looking at information from the previous day. And of course, the older a system gets, the more you have break fix costs. How much is it costing you to keep the equipment running? And I'm not just talking about the computers, but the cash drawers and receipt printers and, all the components of a point of sale system. There's just a point where it gets so outdated that it's costing you more just to keep it running. And that includes, labor. I mean, you've got your IT or whoever that has to take care of all these issues. It costs you more to keep it running than it would be just to invest in a new system and then be set for the next, 5 to 7 years or even longer. So if you add all those things up, basically, and obviously not everything applies to everybody, but in general, if you're hitting 4 or 5 of those 9 different areas, you're probably losing about 3 to 5% of your annual gross sales, or its unrealized revenue. So to put that in perspective, if you're only doing 500,000 in annual gross sales, that's still 15 to 25,000 a year. If you're doing 5 million in annual gross sales, that's 150 to 250,000 a year. And that's, easily the cost of a completely new point of sale system. So in this situation, even if you have nothing or if you have an outdated system, investing in a new point of sale system, the new system is going to pay for itself in a year. And then suddenly you've got additional revenue coming in. Wouldn't that be nice? So of course, these are only the dollar amounts. It doesn't include other things like sanity and satisfaction with yourself, your staff, your leadership, your employees. Like just reducing turnover because you're not burning through cashiers constantly. Or when they do change, it only takes 15 minutes to train them rather than several hours or days. And then just as a summary of what I can offer again, basically it's free and unbiased advice for smaller businesses and organizations, only need an hour or 2 of my time. And then I do offer on-site discovery and consultation for larger organizations who would like me there for, anywhere from 2 to 3.5 or 4 days. And again, I only ask for my travel expenses to be covered in those situations. Again, this is vendor and solution neutral information from an industry expert, and I will put my contact information in the video description. And thank you.